This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Will Jewelry and Loan. When you need cash and you need it fast, check out Will Jewelry and Loan. Come on in with your jewelry, firearms, electronics, tools, lawn equipment, dirt bikes, side-by-sides, and even four-wheelers. They will beat any competitor's loan amount, and that's a fact. Will Jewelry and Loan guarantees faster and more cash for your loan than any other company in the area. They have your cash you need fast. Check them out today on their Facebook page or give them a call at 304-768-5101. Stop in and talk with them at 5523 McCorkle Avenue, Southwest, South Charleston, West Virginia. Will Jewelry and Loan, 304-768-5101. Folks, welcome back to On the Limb Podcast with Nature's Voice Game Calls. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. November is freaking flying by. Yeah. I mean, it's already gone. We're in December. Gone. It's already December 3rd.
It flew.
So, we went and got a Christmas tree this evening. And, it's kind of crazy because it didn't even really feel like Thanksgiving because it came at the end of the month. It was pretty late this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So, that was kind of weird. We woke up Thanksgiving Day, turned the parade on, and Casey was like, it doesn't even feel like Thanksgiving. And I'm like, you're right, it doesn't. It's a little late in the season. But anyways, we had a great time and had a bunch of people over, ate really good food. And did you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
Great food.
Yeah, I had a good Thanksgiving.
Dan, you smoked ham or was it smoked turkey?
Turkey.
Okay.
Did a spatchcock turkey.
Oh yeah, you did spatchcock, yeah.
He smoked it in a smoker, or he smoked it with a rifle.
Yes.
Well,
yes and yes. Okay.
No, he did not.
No.
I heard
did,
some.
but I got thrown out of Kroger's.
Yeah. When we were hunting there on your property, Dan, I was telling you we heard them turkeys, and I actually looked it up because I was like, I think turkey season's in right now, but it wasn't. Turkey season went out on November the 17th.
Ooh.
But if turkey season would have been in, I was going to get me a turkey.
Oh, yeah.
Because I heard them in the bottom.
Smoke it.
I mean, they was feeding, plucking, just coming up through there. I was like, oh, it's going to be a gang of them. But they came in, Dan, down there where where we set up that blind for you guys.
Right, yeah.
And they come in on that little slope right there behind it. So you couldn't even see them coming in.
Right, yeah, they didn't come in close enough to the cameras.
No, and what they done is they came in on that slope, and then they jetted up the hill and went over, so we didn't even get to see them. We just heard them. Pretty good.
Right on.
So this evening, we're just going to do like a deer camp chat. We did a fireside there the night before rifle season opened up there on Monday morning, and got a really good bit of feedback on that from people. People enjoyed that. So we're going to talk about just deer camp and how the seasons went. Everybody's busy with life and work and kids and family and stuff like that. So our deer camp when I was growing up was in Pocahontas County, and that's almost 4.5 hours away where our deer camp was. So, and I don't get as much time, off of work during this time of the year to be able to take a week and go because I use a lot of my vacation time after January for shows when we go and do the trade shows and things. So, but I'm hopefully going to change that next year. I'm going to be taking less time to do those shows, and we'll still be doing the same shows, but I'm going to take off less time to do them so that I'll have more time during Thanksgiving. We maybe start the deer camp thing back again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, Dan, if you want to, just go ahead and hit on some of your season. I know Pacey was out there with you a couple days.
Yeah, no, she was. Before we do that, I'd like to tell you about some of the exciting things we got ahead here in West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
don't forget about the West Virginia Hunting and Fishing Show coming up at the Coliseum and Convention Center, January the 24th to the 26th. Brought to you by the West Virginia Trophy Hunters Association. Sorry. This show always brings seminars and various tips, tricks, and gear adventures, and always good hunting stories from around the Mountain State and abroad. You'll have the chance to get hunts of a lifetime, fishing packages of a lifetime. It's all kinds of stuff. Make sure you join us and hundreds of other exhibitors at the 2025 Hunting and Fishing Show. And don't forget to get your big buck scored that you killed this year or last year. If you just got it back from the taxidermy and you're trying to figure out what the score was, they'll do that for you free at the show. And you can hang it on the West Virginia Whitetail Hall of Fame wall. You can always listen here on the Limb Podcast or West Virginia Outdoors with Chris Lawrence on 58 WCHS on Saturday mornings for more details about the West Virginia Hunting and Fishing Show. So I will delve into our deer season. Me and Pacey's, I really wasn't hunting too hard this year. My daughter come to me, she said, Daddy, it's time to get a buck. I don't want a doe this year. I want to kill a buck. So, that kind of gets you excited. They're evolving, So we set out to try to harvest her a buck. We went out opening morning and had a few on the camera the night before, so I was fairly hopeful, and I knew people in the area would be pushing deer around and everything, but we went and sat in the blind and had that heater going and all that nice stuff. She's laying on the floor of the blind sleeping.
Yeah.
So, the peaceful time in the woods. You get
some of the best naps that you take is in the woods. I mean, I always.
Oh yeah. I
get in there. Well, this season was a little different, but I usually get in there and get real warm, and that's when I fall asleep.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. I'm pretty sure you said. Well, no, that wasn't Monday morning. You went hunting, and I'm pretty sure when you got back that evening, you was asleep from like 5 o'clock till 11 is what your son told me.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah. I was pretty drained.
Yeah.
It's just like the heat. The cold will drain you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And not only that, walking through the woods too. That'll drain you if you're not used to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But so anyway, first day we hadn't really seen anything. What was it? Probably about 10 o'clock, I think, maybe. She looked across the holler and she said, Daddy, there's a deer. I'm looking, I don't see nothing. So I get up to get in where she's looking from, and then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, nope, that's a deer. So I grabbed the rifle. I didn't have my binoculars at the time. I just grabbed it to look through the scope, and I said, oh, it's a buck. And normally I take that tripod out there for her.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot it this opening morning. So I'm sitting there like, shoot, which she can shoot, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, it'd just be easier if she had something to rest on. I'm like, you know what? Just throw it on my shoulder. I'll plug my ears. So I'm sitting there shaking. I'm like, man, I got that fever. She has a good chance of killing her own buck. And I don't know if I was helping her being a rest or not, because I'm pretty sure I was shaking real bad. But we never could get a good shot on it. It had its nose to the ground, and it wasn't letting up. It was on a trail of something. So.
Now, was it going in the next day, or was it coming out that you all seen that big buck?
So at about noonish 30, 1 o'clock, she said, Daddy, I think I'm done. I'm cold and tired. I said, all right. And I know her papa was leaving, so I was like, well, just go out to the road and meet him there. He'll take you to the house. I'm staying out. So I ended up staying out, and she went back. She calls me. I said, you all right? What? I said, you just could barely got out of the woods. She said, I just seen a big buck. I'm like, oh, really? She said, yeah, he was across the pipe, or the hill going up to the pipeline. I'm like, well, she left the gun in the blind because we only took one. I took my pistol. I was going to try to kill a doe with my pistol. I figured I'd hunt with a 357 this year, something different. So she left it, and I'm like, well, just leave the gun and I'll have it. So she didn't get to have her gun on the way out, so she didn't even get a chance to pull up on it. So later that day, everybody come back in from after lunch and heard a gunshot on top of the hill. So I texted Dave. I said, did you just kill something? He said, I shot one. So at that time, I was already getting out of the blind, already out of the blind. I was doing my normal walk around. I was tired of sitting. It was time to push. So it was literally right above me. And I'm like, well, if he shot it coming down this way, it's going to come down the hill. Well, sure enough, it came down the hill where I thought it was coming. It was not that deer. So I had seen another deer that was obviously with that buck that he killed. So he ended up getting one. We didn't get nothing first day. Second day, same, kind of the same. Didn't get nothing. That third day, we was heading back up in the woods. And at 6:08, I think it was, we was driving up through the field to get to the woods, and she said, "There's a deer right there." I looked. I said, "Yeah." He just crossed right in front of the headlights of the side by side, and he just stood there for 5 minutes. And I'm telling you, he was an absolute monster of a
monster.
He was a stud.
Then you don't have this one on camera.
No, I don't think I do. He's staying in the real thick stuff. I know where he's at now. And he's staying in that real thick stuff.
Smart ones do.
Bugsy Graybill will, from Bugsy Baits, he'll ask you for your coordinates. And he did that when I showed him them, or when I posted them rubs. I sent him the lat longs for the Bahamas.
That's awesome. He's going to go down there and catch all the fish now. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Yeah. And he said, he was like, okay, the Bahamas. And I was like, yeah. I was like, at least I was going to give you somewhere good to go.
Nice, yeah. That way when you show up, with all your winter clothes, coveralls.
But man, I'm just it was a good experience. You got to see that big boy, and that really got her blood pumping. But
nice.
Still couldn't connect on nothing. I had him. No, that must have been Tuesday morning. That must have been second day, because Wednesday is when you come out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you and Trevor had come out Wednesday, so that must have been Tuesday. And Wednesday, we had more people there than I anticipated.
Yeah, that was Wednesday morning. We just did a half a day that day.
Yeah, and the guy that showed up, they only hunted till like 9:30. Which I didn't get it, but whatever. And they was walking out, and he texted me. He said, "Hey, just jumped an absolute monster of a deer. He was huge." He said, "If you're still hunting where you went in, he might be coming to you." And then about 5-10 minutes later, after he sent that, I seen him pop into the woods about 60, 70 yards below me.
Oh, dang.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, if that's where he's seen that buck, he was coming.
He was coming
directly to me.
Oh, dang.
And it was all that thick stuff, and he was coming out of that thickness to an opening where I'd have had a chance at him.
Yeah.
Now, what's your range with that 357, Dan? How far you think you could kill one with that?
Well, I don't think he had it that day.
Oh, I see.
No, I had the rifle.
He just had the 357 when Pacey was out.
I would be comfortable at 50 yards, I think, with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I'd want to try much more than 50 yards, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I've shot it at 50, and I've hit pretty decent, so I felt confident in 50 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know I got like that carbine one. I'd take it to 100.
Oh, nice.
But as a pistol, well, I mean, you got to figure the barrel's 14-inch long or something like that. So you got that extra barrel length.
Yeah.
But no, just the revolver at the 6-inch barrel. I was confident at 50 yards and for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much how my season panned out. Didn't go out in the rain on Thursday morning, which I usually hunt Thursday, but I just didn't. And then had Friday, nothing. Saturday, I ended up looking at some property. So that was pretty much the close of my season. Now I'm back to work.
Back to the grind.
Back to the grind.
Yeah. All right. So believe it or not, Dave over here, production Dave, he does hunt.
Hey, you know what? Since Dave's always not here, let's take a break and we'll do a salute to valor after that.
Hit it.
Oh man, love you, Dave.
I love you too. All right, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Stick Tamer Bow Silencers. Are you a traditional archery hunter or shooter? Stick Tamer was specifically designed for the recurve shooter. Made of a hybrid foam rubber material, Stick Tamer is designed to deaden string slap and limb vibration. Stick Tamer reduces limb and string noise, water resistant, and lasts shot after shot. Made in the USA from a hybrid foam rubber for durability. To purchase Stick Tamer and for more information, visit 3riversarchery.com and blackwidowbows.com. Stick Tamer bow silencers are available exclusively at 3riversarchery.com and blackwidowbows.com. All right, guys, we're back. Go ahead and hit him, Dan.
You can tell he ain't been there for a while.
I knew he was going to hit it as soon as he come back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I knew I was too. Oh, poor Dave.
For those of you listening to the recording, what was just edited out was a mistake by the sound man.
We do edit his mistakes out.
Yeah.
We try to make him look as good as we can.
Oh, I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
Dan.
Absolutely.
Dan, before you hit the salute, I want to give a shout out to the guy that done the carved Nature's Voice logo that we have on the back wall this evening.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this guy is, I believe it's in Michigan. Just scrolling through, Scroll Saw Art. So his name is Andy Godwin. That's the owner. And he does have a Facebook page, so just scrolling through, if you go check them out, man, I'd love to give them a shout-out because they've done an amazing job on our logo here of the deer skull with the turkey feathers and the turkey beard, and it's freaking awesome. So we have that hanging in our podcast studio now, so we're going to be doing a little rearranging and adding some different things here, but yeah, I just wanted to give them a shout-out because he did an awesome job.
Yeah.
So if you guys,
it's amazing work for sure. It's
and I'm sure he wouldn't care for me giving his cell phone number out. If you guys want to contact him, his cell's on his card, 616-260-0540. And we'll have his Facebook page tagged in the description along with his phone number and all that stuff so you can contact him. All right, Dan, go ahead.
All right. So tonight's Salute to Valor is going to be for Brian Pratt of Ravenna, Ohio. He was in the U.S. Army as a sergeant first class. He's 7, served for 21 years. He was based all over the Middle East and Africa, Bosnia, Albania, Liberia, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan. He was awarded a Bronze Star, Army Accommodations Medal, and several others. He was, I would assume, retired November of 2011. So, Brian, we'd really appreciate your service. Long career in the service, multiple deployments apparently. So we thank you for your service and we appreciate you.
Yep.
Awesome.
God bless you, Mr. Pratt. Dan, did you talk about season 3, episode 129? Not, I'll go ahead and talk about it.
No, I did not. Well, we did miss that.
Okay, so season 3, 129 will be out tomorrow. That's where we talked with Sean Butler from Longspur Tracking and Outfitting. We just kind of did an update on how their season was going before rifle season started. And just in archery season alone, they were already close to the number that they hit last year. So they're going to well exceed their number of successful tracks.
I want to say I seen something on that the other day. I want to say I seen a number of 1,500 posted the other day.
That's what I was thinking too, but I didn't want to say the wrong number. So
yeah, I can't remember, but I'm wanting to say that I seen something where it said just recovered number 1,500.
Yep,
that's a lot of deer, boys.
Oh yeah, they're the premier tracking authority in this state, and what is it? 9 other states, I think now. So they're up to 10 or 11 states.
Even if it is 15, you can't say all 1,500 of those were West Virginia because they are through multitude of states.
Yeah, they are.
But still, that's a heck of an accomplishment for them guys and their dogs.
Yeah, they got some really good teams.
Yeah, I want to go out on one of those with them. I just want to see the whole process.
It'd be awesome just to see it. I know last time or when we had him on, you was talking about just making a bad shot just so that you could have him come do that. But I mean, it happens. I didn't really think that it was that big of a deal until we met Sean, and it's like, wow, this is a really big business.
Yeah.
Wow. So, but we'll be talking to them again next Tuesday at 6:30. We're going to be doing an update on how the rifle season went here in West Virginia. We're going to have 4 different guys on from around the state like we did last year, so we're going to have call-ins from four of his different guys. So next Tuesday at 6:30, that's when we'll have it on. So be sure to head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts for all past and present episodes.
Yeah. Hey, also don't forget, use Podcast 10 at checkout with outdoor-pro-shop.com for 10% off your order at checkout.
That's
Dave,
right.
let's hear how your season didn't go.
This guy.
He's got one of them skits. We wrote him up a skit so he could talk about his season.
Yeah, right. The awesome thing about my season, Dan, is it's not over yet.
He's right.
That's true.
He's right.
So anyway, let's see, I've been able to go out one day so far, and it was pretty uneventful. Saw a whole bunch of does in the woods, but no bucks, and at least not in the woods. And but the greatest thing about it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, is I've got 4 daughters.
Yeah.
I'm actually called 4-daughter Dave in some circles.
4-daughter Dave.
4-daughter Dave.
That's not what you get with us. You're no-show Dave.
Oh God, slit you.
This guy.
Slit.
I'm going to mute his
mic. Not to be mistaken with the world's greatest no-show Jones.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's fine. All right, Dan, you're muted for the next 5 minutes. You're in timeout. All right. So
he's putting you in mic timeout.
Yeah. No, but the awesome thing is I had 2 daughters that were super excited to get in the woods with me, and that's awesome to me. And so they spent the whole day with Dad. They were in the woods the entire time I was in the woods.
Every girl went?
No. 2.
2. Okay.
2.
I was like, what?
Had 2 daughters.
Okay.
Yep, that wanted to be with me. And so we were in the woods all day, and they didn't whine about it. They actually packed their own lunches.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And, one of them's 12, and the other one is 15. And so they did a great job, And I think
good. I'm glad they showed an interest to get out there.
It was awesome, Mike.
Yeah.
It really was. It was Ryan and Haley.
Yeah.
And anyway,
Rylan. I call her Rylan.
Rylan. Yeah, you do call her Rylan. She talks about that all the time. Anyway, but we had a great day, and I taught them a lot about, still hunting and, hunting from a blind and all. We had a great time.
Yeah.
And
it's great that you got to do that. And they got to spend time in the outdoors, and those memories right there will stick with them, just like if you're going out and you harvest an animal.
Absolutely.
Y'all was out there cackling like schoolgirls.
That's probably why we didn't see a buck.
That's why you didn't see any deer. But anyway,
yeah. But man, I'm telling you, they were great. And like Ryan, she's the older one. And like if she stepped on a twig and it snapped or something like that, man, she was just like dead still. Like, I'm not moving. It was really cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the things she was doing. But anyway, yeah.
Well, it's good to have times like that where you're not seeing anything. That way you can teach them stuff about the outdoors.
Yes, absolutely.
About deer movement, and about their habitat and their food and the way they travel and different stuff like that.
Yep. And when you're trying to still hunt, try to hunt downwind.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff.
Try to hunt downwind.
It's a little difficult sometimes in the West Virginia mountains.
It turns wherever it wants to.
Yeah.
And it can be brutal sometimes.
Yeah, and you can go from one point to the next point, and the wind's different direction.
Yep.
It's just kind of crazy. But man, we had a really good time. And then there was another day that I'd planned on going, and it was cool because Haley had an opportunity to do something else, and she felt terrible that she wasn't going to be able to be with me in the woods. So that was kind of cool. but yeah, we had a good time. So
you're teaching them not to show up for you. Okay, I got you.
Well, anyway, so then.
You should have left me muted.
But see, Saturday.
Your 5 minutes was up.
Saturday, I'll be back in the woods, and Dan will be working, so that'll be fun.
But
I'm going to text him a lot.
Your dad's neighbor harvested your buck.
He did. He did harvest the buck that I was looking for. Yeah, on Dad's land.
Did he know about it?
No.
So it came over from your dad's land.
It came over from my blind, basically.
Oh, jeez.
And man, he had it tore up. I mean, there were probably maybe 10 rubs, and a lot of them, 12-inch diameter trees, 10-inch diameter trees. I mean, huge trees. 10 rubs within maybe, I don't know, 25 yards of each other.
So was it an 8-point, 10-point?
I don't remember. I have to look it up, or look at my text.
Yeah.
But Dad was like, yeah, he was hunting his place, and it came over. I think he got it 100 yards from the fence line. So it was just like right there, and I'm like, oh man, that sucks. But that's all right.
Crazy.
It's part of it.
Yeah, he probably had a traveling corridor through there. When and
well, he was yeah.
And
anyway.
Here later in the season, like we're in the second week now, and when I was out there Saturday, I kind of thought the rut was over. I mean, it's just like we're seeing all these does, and no bucks.
Yeah, like they're not chasing anymore. Right?
Yeah, it's like they're not chasing no more, but they're still actively in the rut. So we'll have to get with Caleb and be like, what stage is that?
Yeah, right. Like what's going on?
Because it's definitely not a post rut.
Yeah,
because they're not chasing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's like,
there's also a multitude of ruts too. If you think about it, there's the early rut, post rut, and then there's that second rut too that always comes in.
Oh yeah.
Not all your does come in at the same time.
But I really think that the weather and the change in temperature and the change of atmosphere and all that stuff has to play in with how that rut is.
Yeah.
I've always been one to hunt by moon phase, and I even fish like that when I'm at the beach because of the tides. It's all hooked together.
Yep.
But there's a lot of people out there that think that moons has nothing to do with it too.
Yeah, I've heard that too. But I know I catch more fish if I fish by moon phase, definitely.
Yeah. So,
but I do have a quick story, real quick. That's not my story, but it's kind of it's
okay.
Pretty interesting. My father-in-law.
We'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay, when my father-in-law was hunting up, I believe it's Grant County. It's up near the Panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he was hunting out there, and there was a buck coming across through some brush, and he had like this really short window. I'm just giving you like the shortened version of it, but anyway, so
time's up.
As this buck crosses, across this opening, he takes a shot. Well, as he's taking his shot, his foot slipped off a rock. He was standing on a rock.
No.
He was standing on a rock.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, no joke. So he's like, oh my gosh. So he goes up there and looks for blood and sees nothing. And he's like, man, I must have missed this buck. So he goes back to camp. Has lunch, goes back out for the afternoon hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's walking in a different part of the woods. And you got to understand Grant County. I mean, like, it's deep woods out there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just out there. And all of a sudden, he stops, looks over the hill, and he sees white. He's like, what in the heck? So he pulls his scope up. There's a buck laying there. He's like, oh my gosh, is it bedded down? What's going on? Because he still hunts the whole time. So he's just, he's scoping it out, and it's not moving. So he walks down there because he noticed it's
I'm not a walker either.
Are you not? I do half and half.
No, if I get cold like I did Saturday, I'll get up and walk.
Yeah.
But other than that,
yeah,
I'm where I go and where I pick my spot, and that's where I'm staying all day long.
Yeah.
Huh.
I do that most of the time too. If it's cold, I'll get up and walk.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so he walks down there. This is the buck that he shot at. It's laying there dead.
Oh my gosh!
And so when he goes to gut it, it was full of blood. Like all the blood was inside the cavity of the deer.
What did he shoot it with?
270.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to say 6.5.
Yeah, and it was a lung shot, 270, and all the blood was inside the deer.
So it didn't have a big enough exit hole for blood to come out of it.
I guess not. That's one thing. I mean,
that's been a lot of complaint with the 6.5 Creedmoor.
It doesn't make a big enough.
It doesn't make a big enough exit wound for them to bleed out and actually die.
Yeah,
because deer will actually try to, heal themselves or pack that wound. I've actually seen deer, that's been shot with 7mm or something like that has a big wound. You'll go up on a deer, and you'll be 30, 40 yards away, and they'll still be kicking, trying to pack whatever that is or to get it out of them.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
they can pack that with leaves.
Wow.
Or if you've got a broadhead that you've shot,
Coagulate the
like
blood flow, maybe, I guess.
yeah, it'll coagulate it. Yeah. So you got an expandable broadhead that makes a good 2 or 3 inch hole.
Yeah.
They'll lay down and.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah.
I just thought that was an interesting story.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy. Well, I guess it's time to hear the big killer story.
Big killer, huh? Well, as I said when I made my post, that last year was Trevor's year, and old Dad got it done this year. So,
Yeah, well, the only reason I think that is Trevor overslept.
Trevor overslept, and Dad woke him up. So, when we went and scouted this new property that we were hunting, I told him, I said, now, if you hunt with me, he's 18. And I just knew at some point he was going to be like, no, I'm going to go hunt on my own away from you, and I'm fine with that. And I said, but if you plan on hunting with me, I said, I get first shot because you killed last year, and I woke you up to kill that buck. And he's like, yeah, I think I'm hunting over here. So we had scouted this property out the Saturday before rifle season, and I'm talking about sign everywhere. I'm talking about scrapes like you wouldn't believe, and rubs like you wouldn't believe, like Dave's talking, 8 to 10 inch diameter trees, and they were cedar trees. So, this buck was rubbing on these cedar trees, and he had them flat tore up.
Yeah.
And I posted some pictures of those. That's the one that Bugsy commented on. I gave him the coordinates to Bahamas.
Nice.
But so we go out there opening day. And we get out there probably about 6:30. Since I've heard a lot of people talk about deer, the majority of deer being killed in the middle of the day, from 10 o'clock to 12. I'm not that big on being early anymore. I used to be up 4:30, 5 o'clock, and you be on your way in the woods, and right before you have legal shooting light, be able to get in there. Get in your position, get your spot cleaned out. Because I hunt on the ground a lot.
Yeah.
So I'll clear me out a good spot. And you're making a lot of noise during that time.
Yeah.
So I'll clear out my spot, and, I do it big enough diameter to where I can move around a little bit and, lay down and take a little nap.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so we didn't get out there too early, but we got out there early enough. And going into the property, we seen a spike and 2 does. And this was their corridor. They were on their travel corridor that we knew about already. It was like, a herd of goat had been going over this hill down into the bottom.
Wow.
Where they were going to feed.
Yeah.
So that's where they were. So we went in, and it was a good thing we seen deer moving, because it was cold that morning, but it wasn't too cold. And what was weird, I was texting Dan. I was like, it's colder now, like later on in the day, than it was like earlier that morning.
Yeah.
It seemed like it got colder, and then it started to warm up. But so this is opening day. We get in our spot. I'm hunting on a little slope that's over probably about a 12-acre field that's really thick in some areas, and it's got a power line, like a little power line right away that goes right through it. And it's just grass. So there's grass in the middle of both two sections that are really thick. So that's where they were. We also found 4 beds to where they were bedding down, and so I'm overlooking this little bottom. And Trevor, there's an old tram road or old logging road or whatever on this property, and he had walked up that road, and to the right of that, this property line went all the way to the ridge. So there was like 3 flats, 2 really good flats. And he was on the second flat over near the funnel where these deer were working their way down. They worked their way down this funnel on the bottom flat, and then they would cross this guy's front yard and go over into the bottom because his house seat's probably about 1.5 acres, 2 acres. So on the fence, like in the front yard, like way in front of the fence, that's where they would cross, and they would go down in this bottom. So we knew that they were going in that way, but we really didn't know what way they were coming back, in the evenings. So we saw that spike going in, and I get in there and get set down. Trevor's seen, he's like, I got deer all around me. He was like, I've seen does, and he saw a 4-point. Couldn't get a good shot at it. So he saw the 4-point, and then saw a bunch of other does. Well, I hadn't seen nothing. When I got in there, I got set down, and it was probably about 45 minutes to an hour. And then I just happened to look in the bottom, and there was this deer walking. Well, it was the spike that we seen coming in. So there's a road down here in this bottom, that it's just like an old tractor road or whatever, and it's grassy, and it's over against the bank. So that's the way that this spike come in. And I thought, well, he's walking right past. He's probably, I'd say, 60 yards in front of me down at the bottom of this slope, maybe a little more. And then, so he just walks on past, and, the property conjoins to his neighbor's property, which has 40 acres. And you can definitely see the property line because his neighbor cuts his field, and the guy that has the property we were hunting on doesn't cut his. He just lets it grow up. So it's really thick. And so we definitely knew where that property line was. And yeah, definitely wasn't going down that way. And then, he was the property owner told us that it goes all the way to the ridge, and then it comes back down into that bottom, and that's where his 40 acres is, whatever. But so I'm sitting there, and about another hour goes past, and I'm looking at my phone, and then I'll glance down in the bottom, and then I'll take a glance to the right and the left, and I'll go back to looking at my phone,
Yeah.
And so I look over to my right, and he's not even paying attention to what he's doing. I mean, he's just walking on this trail. There's another trail that runs up this slope here. And I'm probably 25 yards away from this trail, behind a tree. Well, beside a big tree. And he comes walking up this trail. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this thing is going to walk right up on me, right?
Yeah.
So he ends up walking about probably 6 to 8 yards right in front of me. I could have threw a knife and killed the deer. And
that's what I'd have done.
and I'm telling you, he looked at me one time, but he never stopped walking. He looked at me one time and kept going, tongue out and everything.
Oh, wow.
So, and you talk about stinking, this thing stunk to high heaven.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, it was nuts. It was like, dang, did Bigfoot just come in behind me or something?
Was that the deer, Michael, or was you smelling yourself?
No, that was deer.
That's what I would blame it on.
Yeah, that's what I'd blame it on too. But I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, this little buck is in rut, big time.
Yeah.
So he just goes on past, and he hit that road that Trevor went up, and he followed it all the way up to where he was going on them different flats and stuff. I didn't go all the way up to where Trevor did to see how those flats was, but I'm sure there were different paths that they were taking up through there as well.
Sure.
So we stayed that day till dark, and the guy that owns the property that conjoins to this one on the other side, the guy's property that we were hunting on, lets him hunt on his property. And lets him have, right-of-way access through his property. So he drives his four-wheeler through the property about 2:30 that day. And I'm like, okay, well, he's going over to his property. He's going to check his cameras or whatever. And this was opening day of gun season. No orange on, nothing, right?
Oh, my.
Just clothes, just regular clothes. And he goes over on his four-wheeler and turns it off, and he's putting out corn at his feeders. Because we didn't hear the feeders when we were scouting that day on Saturday. We didn't hear the feeders all day Monday, but he filled them things up. So I guess he'd been working or whatever, but he filled them feeders up, and it was ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yeah.
It was starting to spit out corn.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, good Lord. So I don't know what kind of timer he had it set on, but it was going off like every 5 minutes. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, this is like 2:30. I'm like, he'd probably be there like 30 minutes, whatever, and he'll ride back out. No. He put his corn out, drove the four-wheeler over to the river bottom on the edge of it, turned it off again, and stayed there until we left. And I'm like, man, I was like, that's just nuts,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's opening day of gun season. That there's people out there hunting.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, this, we're done. I mean, we stayed till 4:45, right at 5 o'clock, and didn't have any movement. we hadn't had any movement that day after we had seen. They were moving more that morning than there was evening. So we didn't. We went out there and hunted with Dan on Wednesday. Didn't see nothing with Dan except another hunter.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the hunter that we've seen that come to your side, Dan.
Yeah, I think it was.
But we didn't see nothing. Squirrels out the yin yang.
Oh my Lord!
I
wasn't
mean,
they, though?
red squirrels the size of house cats.
Yeah.
and you know, it seems like every time during this year you always see squirrels, and during squirrel season you never see squirrels. Yep. And you know, it's vice versa with deer. But
yeah.
So we didn't see nothing out there. Dan had told us, you know, how his was going, and we went. I said, man, we're going to head out of here by 11 o'clock. So we headed out, took the side by side down to the gate. Didn't see anything, you know, going out. Didn't jump up anything. And then, of course, you know, we didn't go Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
Didn't go Friday. I told Trevor Thursday evening, I said, we might go hunting tomorrow if you want to go. He's like, all right. And I said, well, see how it is in the morning, see if you want to go. So I get up 4:45 and I go in there. I'm like, you want to go? He's like, nah. He's like, I didn't get much sleep last night. I'm like, okay. I don't hunt by myself.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to go. I said, well, we'll just hang out here at the house, you know, and just chill out and get things cleaned up from Thanksgiving. So we go Saturday. We go to
you go Saturday.
Yeah, I go Saturday. Me and John Webb go Saturday. And we had dinner with them Friday evening, and he said, you know, he's like, I think I'm going to go hunting tomorrow. So he goes down, he gets all of his hunting stuff ready, and he's all excited about it. You know, he ain't been able to hunt for a long time during rifle season because he was busy with his daughters. You know, his daughter's in soccer heavily, and, you know, she's got recruited now. And so he's got a little bit more free time than he used to. And he said, yeah, I'm going to go get my stuff ready. So he goes down there, and he's going through all his stuff. You know, he's excited. It's coming back to him, you know, like a kid on Christmas Day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it was awesome seeing him, you know, get excited about going the next day. And then I think it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock when we left. And I'm like, you sure you want to go? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm pretty sure. He's like, I'll let you know. And I said, well, I'll go ahead and get up. And I said, I'll text you. And if you want to go, that's fine. If not, I'll just go back to bed.
Yeah.
So on my way home, he was like, I'm going. I'm pumped. So he was like, I'll be at the house at 5:15.
Yeah. And
then he said, or 5:30.
Yeah.
So he was wanting to sleep in a little longer.
Uh-huh.
But he ended up getting there about 5:30, 5:35, and we ended up getting out to the property probably around 6:30. Got in the woods, good time. And going in the woods, now what we done before we went in, we took the Inferno from Apparition Sense, and I had about an 8-foot piece of hemp rope, or wasn't really hemp rope, it was just twine. You know, like craft twine or whatever. Casey had some of that in the building, and I thought, she'd done a lot of craft stuff, and I thought, man, that'd be perfect to stick down in this Inferno and just do a drag line when you go in. So I stuck about 12 inches of it down in that bottle, and he tied it to his backpack. I said, you can drag this in if you want. So he goes to where Trevor hunted, because, you know, I put him in the spot where we'd seen more deer.
Yeah, right.
So he goes, and I told him, I said, the property line goes all the way to the top of the ridge. You can go all the way up there. Just don't go over it. So he goes up there, and I think he gets pretty high. I think he maybe got on the third flat. And he texted me. He's like, you see anything? I was like, yeah. So when I walked into my place, I went back to the same spot. And my spot, you know, it's all cleared out. And this is way colder that morning.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, the spot that I had cleared out is now ice mud.
Yeah.
You know, when I stepped into the spot out of the leaves, it was like, and I'm like, oh my God, you know. So and it didn't feel really that cold when you get in there, because, you know, you're walking in and you get a little hot.
Yeah, that's right.
I get in there and sit down, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm freezing. I mean, everything on me was fine except for my feet and my nose. 10 o'clock, I couldn't feel my nose.
Yeah.
Really?
And I can't put one of them, I have face masks, but I can't put the face mask up to my nose because my glasses
fog up. Yeah.
It fogs up and I can't see. So I have to pull it down to my chin.
Uh-huh.
So I have basically my whole face exposed and my nose was freezing off. And I kept taking the hand warmers and putting them up to my nose like this. And I was just like, trying to stay warm.
Yeah.
And I put on my post on Facebook, I said, man, I have fought the cold and the wind all day. Because the wind, it wasn't really like howling, but it was just a constant blowing. And it was at my back, which was good. That's what I wanted. But, and every time I turned to the left, it'd blow on my face. And I was like, oh my God, I can't turn that way. Yeah. But, and one mistake that I done, and Rachel's like, oh, you always tell people not to wear thick socks with high insulated boots. And I'm like, I know, but these were Columbia socks, and they wasn't really that thick. Yeah. I thought I'd be okay.
Yeah. Hold on. Speaking on socks, I have been seeing a lot about these alpaca socks.
I know.
I don't know if you got.
Yep.
I'm going to try some.
I see.
I'm going to order me a set of these things.
You'd have to do it on a site that's legit, because I think that everything that you see on the Facebook is not. I don't know if it's legit.
Yeah, no, I get online.
But I have seen a lot of advertisements for them.
Yeah, I don't trust Facebook anyhow.
Yeah. But, so that's what I done. I wore 2 thick of socks. I got 800-gram Thinsulate boots, and my feet sweated on the way in.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have an extra pair of socks.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys are, but if my feet's cold, I'm pretty much cold all throughout.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Same way with your head.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But my hands were good, my torso, my legs, and I actually wore 2 things of the thermals under my pants because I knew it was going to be cold. But
now, did you wear your True Timber fleece?
Yeah, the high pile kept me warm throughout my whole torso, and that's where I keep my hand warmers, in that pocket.
Oh yeah,
I didn't have any problems, but my face with my nose and my toes. But that's like, I kept fighting that all day long. I was like, oh my God! So I actually went out to the truck. I told John. I texted him. I'm like, I'm going to the truck 11 o'clock. Actually, I told him I'm going at 10:30 because that was right after. Well, I hadn't seen anything all the way up till then. I seen 2 deer when I first went in and got seated in, and they were down in the bottom. They didn't get spooked or nothing, so they just kind of trotted off. I didn't get to see what neither one of them was, but so I didn't think that. I thought maybe that those would come back the same way that Spike did when it ran off through that road down there in the bottom.
Yeah,
they never come through, so I never seen them come back through. So it was like 10:30. I told John, I was like, man, I'm going to the truck. I got to go warm up. I didn't even start the truck up. I just got in it for like 30 minutes. And I just want to get my feet warm, I get in there and I'm moving them around a little bit. And that's what I was doing in the woods. It just wasn't working. So I got in the truck, sat there for a little bit, got warm, and I got back out. And I'm like, well, I need to get back in there before these deer start moving again. So I get back in the woods probably about 11:30, 11:45. And I'm sitting there, and John texts me, and he's like, man, I have deer all around me. He was like, I'm surrounded by does. He's like, where's the horns? And I'm like, man, I know there's bucks out here because there's rubs everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's too much sign for there not to be bucks. And we had only seen that little 4-point and the spike. So I know that those deer wasn't making those rubs on that cedar tree. It's just too big. And so John said, what time you want to leave? And I said, I don't care, bud. I said, it's up to you. I said, I'm freezing my balls off out here. I said, but I'll try to hang in there, whatever you want to do. And he was like, all right, we'll leave at 2. And I'm like, oh, God, thank God. And this was like probably 1 o'clock. And I'm like, I got 1 more hour. 1 more hour to wait, and then I can start walking out. And then he texted me like 10 minutes later, and he was like, no, let's go ahead and stay till 5. He was like, I don't think I'm going to get to hunt anymore. He was like, I want to make a full day of it. And I was like, oh, my God, really? I was like, I'm gonna freeze out here. I'm on my 2nd set of hand warmers, and so I was like, I kept looking at my phone, and I wasn't on my phone because my hands were freezing. So I wasn't pulling my phone out to look at it. I was pulling my phone out just to look at the time because, with the gloves I've got on, they used to work with my phone, but I've had them for so long now, the tips of them's off, so I can't push it anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just pulled my phone out, look at the time, and I'm like, oh my God, time is not moving.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was like 2:00, and then I was like, I'm gonna go to the truck at 3. Yeah, I was like, I ain't staying any longer. He wants to hunt till 5. I'll just wait on him at the truck.
Yeah.
So 3:00 comes, and I'm like, God, I can do a little longer. I'm gonna do 3:30.
Yeah.
And I'm still moving my feet, and I'm getting, I'm sitting down. I got one of them pads that kind of holds the heat in. So I'm sitting down on that, and then I get up, and I'll stand, and I'll move around a little bit, do the stanky leg in the woods.
Yeah.
And, I just like trying to move my toes and keep everything warm. And it was really a struggle. I mean, it was a mind struggle to stay there and do that. But I was like, I got to do this. I don't want to go back to the truck. So here it was, 3:30. And there again, I pulled out my phone. I was like, oh, my God, another hour and a half, until we can start walking out. Because it really don't get dark till about 5:15.
Yeah, right.
5:30.
Yeah.
So time just kept going. Hadn't seen anything. Hadn't seen the hunter on the 4-wheeler, the neighbor. So I was excited about that. And then I think it was about 4:15. I was like, you know what? I'm getting up. I'm done. I packed up all my stuff. And I started to walk further down into the bottom because I was just going to walk around a little bit. And that's what I was saying. I'm not a walker unless I get cold. But I was like, I'm going to walk the rest of this 45 minutes out and just work my way back to the truck, And that way, by the time I'm there, I'm going to be warmed up and I'll be good. Well, I'm on this slope, walk down into the bottom, and I start walking out that little road at the bottom. And I can look back up and see that hillside where that road is that goes up to where the two flats are, and I still see that trail that comes through there. So I'm just walking along, and I stand there beside a tree, and I just lean up against it. My feet's feeling a lot better by now, but I'm shaking at this point. Like, I'm cold. I'm so cold I'm shaking. And then I look up, and I seen horns come. I hadn't seen the body yet. I just seen the horns. So I was like, oh my God, there comes a freaking deer. So I'm at this tree, and I pulled my gun up to scope it. And I was shaking because, as soon as you see deer,
oh yeah,
mixed in with cold, I went into like convulsions.
Oh yeah, you always get the buck fever.
You do.
If you lose the shakes and the nervousness,
yes,
you
just quit.
Hang it up.
Just quit.
Just quit hunting.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I got that, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, I haven't had that. I've killed 3 points and I've killed 5 points spikes with my son, just so that I could harvest those while he was there and have him get the experience. Yeah. And I haven't had a big buck in the scope for a long time, probably 10, 12 years. But I still get, excitement. But when you scope a buck and he's nice size, and I'm like, oh my God. So it hit me right then.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm up against the tree, and I'm like shaking, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't want to even see me.
Yeah.
And then he turns and looks right at me, and I'm like, I got to take the shot. I already had the gun there.
Yeah.
I had the crosshairs on the shoulder, well, a little bit in front of the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I pull the trigger, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't pull, bang. I was nervous. I was cold.
You were trying to get it off quick.
I pulled the trigger.
Yeah, you pulled. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. But he dropped. And I'm like, he's down, baby. I was like, let's go. I was like, he's down right there. And I made a high shot. So it was a spine shot.
Oh, so he's still alive. He's just on the ground.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
It had a good bit of blood that came out the backside, but it clotted fast. So he laid there. And I hated this, but I couldn't go up on him from my angle of where I was to be able to shoot because I knew where John was.
Right.
And I didn't want to shoot up towards his way.
Yeah, right.
So I had to work my way around to the side And this is coming back up the side of the slope to be able to stand there and get a shot on him if he got up, because he's laying there and he didn't do anything at first, but he started to rut his horns in the ground. He was trying to get up,
Trying to move, yeah.
but he was paralyzed in the whole front.
Right.
And I hated not being able to put him down, and I didn't want to, but I got to worry about the other hunter.
Yeah,
on the
that's
other
right.
side.
That's
right.
right.
You got to worry about safety too.
Yeah.
So I worked my way around to where if he did get up, I could take a shot at him, and it would be into the hillside, and John would be fine where he was.
Yeah.
So it's like 15, 20 minutes, and he's finally not moving anymore. Because I could see, like, on the it wasn't where his lungs was, but it was like further near the back, like, I don't know, maybe stomach.
Yeah.
You could just, it wasn't like up front, it was further near the back to where you could just see some pulsating.
Yeah.
And it would stop every now and then. And it
I
got.
think I was on the phone with you at that point.
No.
Because I'd called you.
I'd called you after he already was done.
Okay.
But
I thought he
was right.
He was walking up to him.
No, it was right before
he
that.
died.
Yeah, it was pretty. I was probably 25 yards away when I was talking to you.
Okay.
But Dan can kind of give you the experience when I was on the phone. Was I not ecstatic?
Oh, buddy, he was
Dan was
intense about it.
Dan was laughing, and he was like, "This is great." And I was like, "Dude," "This is freaking awesome." So
what I should have did if I was thinking about it now that, well, I updated my phone and got all these new features, and I just found out you can do a
screen record.
Well, not a screen record. You can record the audio now.
Oh,
on
really?
iPhones. So I wish I'd have known that. I'd have recorded that audio for you. We'd have made a good segment out of that.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. I mean, I showed Dan because I FaceTimed him, and I was shaking like this. I mean, like, it was like crazy. But after I seen, I could, as I was sitting there watching the deer, I could see the breathing get less and less, and it just come to done. He was done. He wasn't breathing no more. So I go up and I told Dan, I was like, that's when I called him. I was like, I think he's finally done. I'm going to go up and I'm just going to give him a good poke, because I didn't want this thing to get up and freaking run off.
He did use his gun, folks.
I did.
Poked him with the gun.
I poked him with the gun. Anyways, so get up there, gave him a couple good pokes, and then it was on. I went up there and I was like, because I didn't really know, like, when I seen him scoped, I knew that he was wide, but I didn't. The G2s and the G3s were directly in line with each other, so I didn't know if it was a 6-point or if it was an 8-point. I could tell that he had brow tines, but the brow tines they're only about 3 inches.
Yeah.
But they're wide. I mean, his brow tines are this far apart.
Yeah.
A good 8 inches. Maybe, a good 8 inches. And I go up and I'm like, man, this is a huge 6. Because Dan was like, is it an 8? Is it an 8? I was like, no, it's a huge 6-point. I was like, this thing is freaking wide.
Yeah. Well, like he said, he FaceTimed me, and I was looking at it. I couldn't tell. It looked like an 8-point on the ground.
Yeah. It sure
It was
did.
a nice one.
But yeah, that was my experience. And of course John comes down and he's like, oh my God. He was like, where was this thing coming in at? And I was like, he was coming in below you. He had to have came right there on that first flat. And he got on that road and he hit that trail. Because what John done when he walked in, he walked up that road. And I was talking to Dave Beer on the phone today, and he was like, you know why he came to that area? He said because it was the strongest when it hit the woods after he had got to that one point from where we had got it in there. Yeah, so he was like, because that was closer down to where I was and wasn't up far where he was. He hadn't drug it, but probably, I don't know, I'd say 300 yards or so into the woods. Maybe a little more than that up in on this flat, and I'm down there, way down in the bottom. So he was like, yeah, man. He was like, he came right across that, and Dave was like, yeah, he came where he came where it was the strongest.
Strongest smell, yeah.
And, the wind had been blowing all day, so it had been circulating.
Yeah.
It was mostly at my back all day, but it would come around and, you know how it just hits you every now and then on all faces, but it was mostly at my back. But, yeah, he come down. He was all excited. So we got that thing. I have never in my life had this much problem getting the rectum out of a freaking deer. I don't know what it was.
You need to get one of those tools that they make now
that you stick up in there and just
twist
rip it out. Yeah, because see, I don't like getting that cut open, so it'll get on your meat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we actually had to cut through the
hip bone.
We actually had to cut through that.
Okay.
And break it.
Yeah.
Just to get it out.
Wow, really?
I couldn't cut it and cut around it enough to get it to pull it out the back. So because sometimes you can pull it all the way out the back.
Oh yeah.
Or if you've got it cut around the tail, you can pull it out the inside after you've already got all the guts out.
Yeah.
And I went all the way up in it and cut the esophagus and all that stuff just to everything came straight out. And John's like, "Man, you're too particular with that." And I'm like, "Well, I like doing clean cuts."
Yeah.
And we go to the deer processing out here at Deer Legs that evening, and we get out of the truck, and they had taken in like 100 and some deers. And this was Saturday. We'd already been in gun season all that week, and he's like, "Can you believe with what the temperatures was today and the wind that we got over 100 and some deer in today?" And I was like, "Man, that's freaking crazy." But we get out of the truck, and there's one laying there, and he was like, "This guy freaking just obliterated this thing when he was gutting it." And I'm like, I don't think that, some people get crazy with the knife.
Yeah.
And just,
cut all kinds of
stuff and just get it out as fast as you can.
Yeah.
I'm a little more precise about it. And
yeah.
I try to get all that stuff to come out at one time, because if you're on a hillside, you got a couple legs propped up and you cut it in the right area.
Oh, yeah, it'll roll right out.
You skin the back and the side of it.
Yeah.
It'll roll right out.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's what happened. But we get there at Deer Legs, and I told Luke's dad inside Todd, and I said, "Come out here and look at this." I said, "I think that a coyote had got to this deer. It was a buck, because they sawed the horns off of it. I guess the guy just wanted to keep the horns. And this deer must have ran and stayed overnight. They couldn't find it till the next day. But it had both ham hocks on the very back of it, ate out. I mean, it looked like
that was a coyote.
It looked like a dog just sit there and chewed on it.
But that's how a coyote will eat a deer, is from the back.
They eat it from the rear end.
And the reason they do that is because they want to stay alive as long as possible.
Yep. Because they don't like to eat dead animals.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. But and he was like, that's a good possibility. And John was like, man, I thought you were being particular. He was like, this guy here, he was like, he just went everywhere. And I was like, I think coyote got a hold of that thing. But anyways, that's how my season went. And
nice.
Meat's already ready. They called me today, so I got to go pick that up. And deer's already at the taxidermy.
Nice.
Ready for next year.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get it back now. Me and Trevor was measuring up, son. He was like, I sent him a picture of it. He's like, dang. And he was like, I think mine's still bigger. I was like, yours has more mass.
Yeah.
But mine is definitely wider than yours.
Yeah.
And it's what'd you say, Dan? 17 3/4 inch on the inside?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I mean, there's that one right there.
That one's probably 18 or 19 there.
That's probably 18 or 19. I'm gonna measure that one when we're done. But I'd say there's only one down here that's close to 17. So
yeah,
I don't know about the other one that we had here that's not here no more. But I think it probably was around 20, 21. I mean, it was.
Yeah, he was a big boy.
God, he was massive from Cedar Grove, big buck. But yeah, so I mean, I knew that this buck, when I took it to the taxidermist, I didn't really pay attention to it till we got it out there and we was looking at it. But he had red stuff and, real dark on the inside near his brow tines.
Okay.
He's the one that'd been rubbing them cedars.
Guarantee it. Trying to get that off of him.
Yep. But, and you know what was weird? I don't know if there's any surveys going on this year where you take the deer. I hadn't heard about any DNR surveys going on.
Yeah, there was. I can't remember what county.
Which county was it?
I can't remember. I think Jackson did it again, though, certain parts of
If
it.
I'd have known while I was out there, I would have liked to have taken it back, because this deer, he looked like a 2.5-year-old deer, but I don't know, because the teeth.
I know
he's
a
only
lot of your CWD areas or whatever they was wanting to bring you to bring it in, but I can't remember exactly where those were either.
Well, this deer had no problems. He didn't have any big sores on him, no abnormalities that I could see. And when I gutted him, he was good. He did have a pretty good bit of fat in him, though.
That's good.
And that was around the stomach area and stuff. But what was weird is this deer had no teeth on the top jaw. None whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, I remember you showed me that.
He had no teeth on the bottom, sides, and just had like 7 teeth in front. That's all this
He
deer.
was a hillbilly deer.
That's the
True old West Virginia hillbilly deer.
yeah, old Jackson County.
Hey,
butt.
Jared
He
McClanahan
probably
says
just spit his chaw out right before you killed him.
yeah,
maybe. Jared McClanahan says a possum will eat animals from the rear as well.
really?
Yes, they will. They will.
I didn't know that.
Me either.
Actually, they'll crawl up in them from the rear to help them keep warm while they're eating the animal.
Man, that's some Star Wars stuff right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Remember when he cut that
Yeah,
thing
I've
open?
actually heard stories told that the guy finally found his buck, after like 2 or 3 days. He comes across it and he goes to grab it by the horns or something just to look, see what he had and what he lost out on. And a possum come running out the rear end of it.
Oh my, God.
Gosh, man. That's insane.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, how'd that thing have a possum baby?
Wouldn't that crazy for a spoof?
Oh,
I mean,
Lord.
they got them turduckins. What would that be?
I don't know what you'd call that.
Call that.
That'd be a poster.
A posture?
Yeah. A deersome.
A deersome. Jared's wife, congratulations to her, Sarah McClanahan. She killed a nice buck.
Yeah, he said she killed a piebald. Yeah,
Yeah, she did. She killed a piebald. It was nice.
that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, she did really well.
He was hunting that buck, but he was more ecstatic that she killed it than he did.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
Which
what he was
is,
saying.
normally the case for us avid
Oh yeah,
hunters, and it's great to see other people get the opportunity to kill something nice.
yeah. Husband and wife hunters, and of course, if my son would have killed the buck, I've been just as ecstatic.
Absolutely.
John was pretty happy to be there and be a part of it, and it was pretty cool. So, but yeah, we had so far we've had a great season. My son hopefully is going to get back out and try to get one before season's over this weekend. But other than that, I hope everybody else had a great season, and let us know on our Facebook page, and send us some pictures and we'll post them. Dan, you got anything else before we get out?
No, I think I'm good.
I know mine was pretty windy and long there, but I wanted to give everybody the full detailed experience hunt there. I mean, that's just like you would talk about it in deer camp. You're sitting around the fire.
Oh, absolutely.
You're just sitting there chilling and talking, having a couple beers or whatever after you come back. And even if you don't kill anything, at deer camp when you come back, you're telling about the deer movement. You're telling about,
Absolutely.
what happened during the day or crazy things that went on. So
Yeah.
that's the great thing about deer camp, and we hope that everybody has the chance in their lifetime to experience that deer camp experience.
The only thing I'll have to add, just like Jason Lucas there mentioned, next season's turkey season. So don't forget, check out naturesvoicegamecalls.com. Use podcast 15 at checkout to get 15% off your entire order.
There you go. He's on it.
He's on it, man.
He's on it.
Hey, we're gonna get them turkey calls in there, boys. Got to get them ready. Start practicing. Annoy the wives.
All right, guys.
If our production guy was on it, there is a button on our board that would play a good turkey call.
Yeah, we had a gobble on there.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah, you don't do that.
I don't do anything that Dan wants me to
once
do.
out every 6 months.
I'm not going to do anything that Dan wants me to do. Nothing. Zero.
All right, guys.
Hey, I hope Dave, I want you to show up more often.
He's thinking about it.
He's
quit.
obviously not good. He's not doing anything I want him to do.
Dan wants me to show up. I quit.
Oh, gosh. All right, guys. Well, good luck on the rest of the season. Be sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. We appreciate everybody listening, likes, and all the shares. And be sure to subscribe to us there on YouTube. We're reaching anywhere from 14 to 20,000 a week now on that, so it's really getting up there. And we got a TikTok, so check TikTok out.
Yeah, check our TikTok out, On the Limb Podcast.
Yep, Dan's managing the TikTok. All right, guys, y'all have a good one. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
This episode of On the Limb Podcast with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Faith Builders, LLC. Faith Builders, LLC is a Christian-owned and operated West Virginia construction company. Faith Builders is a shingle master through Certainteed Shingles. Faith Builders offers a 50-year non-prorated warranty. In addition to pitched roofs, Faith Builders also specializes in low-slope roofing for both commercial and residential, currently certified through Mule Hide Roofing Products. Give them a call today at 304-916-3033 and 304-474-3096, or visit them on their Facebook page. Faith Builders, LLC, brightening up the world one job at a time. 304-916-3033.